Imagine losing your child and refusing to let go for 17 days. Across more than 1,000 miles of ocean, one mother orca carried her dead calf on her head. Why would she do something so heartbreaking? Her name was Tahlequah, also known to scientists as J35. She belonged to J-Pod, one of 3 family groups that make up the endangered southern resident killer whales living in the Salish Sea between the United States and Canada. These orcas are famous for their close family bonds. Sons and daughters often stay with their mothers for life. Grandmothers help raise calves. Every member depends on the others. In July 2018, researchers celebrated when Tahlequah gave birth to a calf. Every new calf mattered because the population had fallen to fewer than 80 whales. But the celebration lasted less than an hour. The newborn died shortly after birth. What happened next stunned scientists, touched millions of people, and became one of the most unforgettable stories ever recorded in the animal world. When researchers first spotted Tahlequah with her newborn, they quickly realized something was wrong. The tiny calf was motionless. It could not swim on its own. Instead of leaving the body behind, Tahlequah gently balanced it on her rostrum, the front of her head, pushing it toward the surface whenever it slipped beneath the waves. It was an exhausting task. Every time the calf sank, she dove after it. Every time it drifted away, she caught it again. Orcas must regularly surface to breathe, making this constant effort physically demanding. Day after day, Tahlequah continued. Researchers from the Center for Whale Research followed her journey as she traveled with her family through the Salish Sea and beyond. She would eventually cover close to 1,000 miles, rarely putting the calf down for long. People watching from boats and shorelines struggled to believe what they were seeing. News of the grieving mother spread around the world. Newspapers, television stations, and marine scientists all focused on the same haunting image. A powerful predator, often misunderstood as fierce and fearless, appeared instead as a mother overwhelmed by loss. By the 7th day, something remarkable happened. Other whales in J-Pod began taking turns. They would swim beneath the calf and help hold it near the surface, giving Tahlequah brief moments to rest and feed before she took the weight back onto her own head. It was not something anyone had expected, an entire family sharing the burden of one mother's grief. But rest never lasted long. By the 9th day, the calf's body had begun to change. It grew harder to carry and harder to keep afloat. Researchers watching from a distance noticed that Tahlequah herself was growing thinner, her energy fading with every passing day. And yet, she continued. For 17 days in total, the journey went on. Scientists could not know exactly what Tahlequah was feeling. Animals cannot tell us their thoughts, but they could carefully describe what they saw. A mother who, despite exhaustion, despite hunger, despite the changing state of the small body she carried, would not stop retrieving it whenever it slipped away. What researchers would learn from this single extraordinary case would go on to shape how scientists think about emotion in animals for years to come. Eventually, after more than 2 weeks, Tahlequah finally let go. No one knows the exact moment it happened or why she finally did. For many people, the image became impossible to forget. It also highlighted another tragedy. Southern resident killer whales face shrinking salmon populations, pollution, underwater noise from ships, and other human-caused pressures. Their low birth rate means that every lost calf matters. Tahlequah's story was not only about one mother's loss, It became a reminder of how fragile her entire community had become. Did Tahlequah understand death the way humans do? Science cannot answer that question with certainty. However, researchers have documented behaviors resembling mourning in several highly social animals. Elephants have been seen touching the bones of deceased relatives. Dolphins have supported dead calves near the surface. Chimpanzees sometimes remain beside the bodies of family members long after death. Orcas possess large brains, complex communication, lifelong family relationships, and remarkable memories. They recognize individual calls, teach hunting skills, and cooperate across generations. Because of these strong social bonds, many scientists believe that losing a calf may have profound emotional consequences. Researchers avoid claiming that animals experience grief exactly as humans do. That would go beyond the evidence. But Tahlequah's behavior was extraordinary because of its duration, its physical cost, and the determination she showed over more than 2 weeks. Whether we call it mourning, maternal attachment, or something we do not yet fully understand, the event reminds us that the emotional lives of animals may be richer than we once imagined. But this story did not end in the summer of 2018. 2 years later, in September 2020, researchers spotted Tahlequah again, this time swimming beside a small, healthy calf. Her new son was strong. He swam confidently alongside her from his very first days of life. Scientists named him J57. Some called him Phoenix. For the researchers who had watched Tahlequah carry her grief across 1,000 miles of ocean, the moment felt like something closing full circle. Her population is still struggling, every birth remains fragile, every calf a small victory against enormous odds. But for a while at least, Tahlequah swam beside a calf that lived. The ocean eventually reclaimed the tiny calf she once carried, but the story never disappeared. For 17 days, one mother transformed a vast ocean into a silent memorial. Tahlequah reminded the world that strength is not always measured by power. Sometimes it is measured by love that refuses to let go. Her journey also asks something of us. If creatures capable of such deep social bonds are struggling to survive, what responsibility do we share in protecting the waters they call home? Some stories change how we see nature. This is one of them.